Two in the tank. Max effort, give it your all, train insane or remain the same. These are obviously the catch calls of the fitness fanatics and enthusiasts in gyms everywhere. And obviously can be very inspirational and potentially motivational for some people. But I think we've got to be very careful with our words and what we're trying to encourage people to do. So we've got to be careful with this, because obviously what it's suggesting is to train absolutely maximally every single time that you're either in the gym or on the training track. And I think the intent to train hard is definitely a good concept, and is something that as fitness enthusiasts and sports people, you should definitely be trying to do that every single training session. Having said that, it can have quite a detrimental effect if you take it to its full truth. So the less kind of sexy truth about performance and performance changes is that it takes time and it requires consistency. And if you're going to be someone that gives 110% every single session, and you're just belting yourself every single training session, you may come across a few roadblocks. One being central nervous system fatigue, or otherwise known as overtraining. You'll see probably decreases in performance. You'll start to have a lack of motivation and reduced kind of willingness to train. And then this potentially can lead to injuries. Not guaranteed, but it has the chance. The story of Goldilocks is probably one of the best analogies that a strength and conditioning coach can use in this instance. So when we think about Goldilocks, we have the too hot porridge. So too hot is too much. So if we're doing too much, whether it's in the gym or on the track, that can obviously have pretty big decreases or detriments to performance, which can lead to overtraining and then maybe eventually even injury. Too little, and we're not getting enough stimulus. We're actually not doing enough to actually see a change and get potentially better. And again, this obviously leads to underperforming or even potentially injury from not actually having trained hard enough for the requirements of the sport or the competition that you want to get into. This is where we're looking for that perfect temperature porridge, that porridge that we can just dig into straight away and we could eat time after time. So it still means that we're going to train hard, but we just want to leave a little bit to be desired. You want to do enough to get a stimulus and see improvements, but not so hard that you're beating yourself up and cooking yourself. So there's a time and a place. So don't get me wrong, there's definitely times when you can really open up and have a red hot crack and see what your body can actually do. Now, these times should optimally be left for competition, games and matches, and possibly even just after a hard training cycle. So if you put a really good block together, say 12 or 16 weeks of training, and you just want to see where you're at, this is okay. This is a time where you can really crack in and really push and see what you can do. We would suggest, though, that really you only want to be doing this probably 3, maybe 4 times a year. Less is usually better. You can use it obviously as a monitoring tool, or again from a competition point of view. I feel like even a sport that has a season, you're not necessarily giving 1000% in every single competition. There's a level of reservation. Even in your team sports such as AFL and soccer, there's definitely a shift in intensity when you compare in-season to the intensity of the finals. And this is what we're kind of talking about. So it's not about not having the intent to train really hard. It's just about giving yourself a little bit of breathing room. You've got to remember that maxing out all the time isn't training, okay? That's simply just, it's testing repeatedly. And unfortunately what happens is that you don't get any better. If anything, you can start to get worse, and then again, can lead to some of the risks that we spoke about before. So this is where the concept of 2 in the tank comes in. So trying to do your 1 rep max every single training session is not going to make you stronger, okay? It's just going to cook your body, you're going to reduce performance, and you're going to put yourself at a higher risk of injury. So the concept of 2 in the tank is what we're saying is that you're still going to train really hard, but for every kind of set and rep, and this would also include any kind of track, sprint training, conditioning, running, anything really, any kind of repetition that you're doing in your training that you're trying to get better for, either your sport, your competition, or your day-to-day life, you want to leave 2 reps in the tank. So if the last 2 take you to absolute failure where you can't possibly do any more, all we're saying is just leave it 2 reps shy. So the importance of this is still, you need to have a strong mindset to get the work done. So it definitely doesn't mean that you're not training hard, but it means that you're training hard enough to see change and create a stimulus that hopefully makes you better, but it's not so hard that you're gassing yourself. And what this allows is that time under tension, all those reps, for that consistency and longevity. So the longer that you can train at this kind of level, the better you'll get over a longer period of time. To us, this is a win-win. Improved performance, longevity, reduced risk of injury. Sounds good to me.